This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's Tuesday, which means we're doing a top 5 list. Top 5 Tuesday, as I seem to have settled into calling this slot over the past year or so. Today, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail and the title, we are busting some music theory myths, commonly held beliefs that I'm confronted with all the time by students and fellow musicians that simply aren't true. There's a couple of these are specifically relating to specific aspects of music theory, and the rest are just, kind of general points about music theory in general. So let's get started straight away with
music theory is not a rule book.
That's right, music theory is not a rule book. It is not there to tell you, you can play this note, but you can't play that one. This chord will go with that chord won't. Nothing could be further from the truth. All music theory is, and this is the way I view it, is just a way of documenting what you've done that works, or what other people have done that works. So you can kind of, you can quantify it and think, okay, that sounded good. I'll do that again in future. Oh, I didn't like the sound of that. Yeah, that didn't work. Let's have a look at why. Oh, so that's why it didn't work. Yeah, I'll avoid that in future. But sometimes the thing that doesn't work, the thing that sounds absolutely horrible and nasty and dissonant, is the perfect thing to do, because you might need that horrible, nasty, dissonant sound in a piece of music to suggest tension or unease or something like that. It all has its uses. It should not be seen as, a book of rules stating where the boundaries are that you mustn't transgress. I think it was Adam Neely once who summed it up brilliantly when he said, music theory is not prescriptive, it's descriptive. It doesn't prescribe what you can do, it describes what you've done. And once you stop seeing music theory as a rule book, where the implication being that if you think there are rules, then there are penalties possibly for breaking the rules. Once you kind of stop seeing it that way, it takes away the fear, I find, of music theory. That's what puts a lot of people off. They're scared that they're going to break some unwritten or written rule, and there will be consequences. Nothing could be further from the truth. Next.
Playing modes is all about which note you start on.
Yes. Don't worry, this isn't going to turn into, an elongated expose on the topic of modes. I've done plenty of those already. Go and search my channel if you're interested in what modes are all about. No, but basically this is what confused me. That confused the heck out of me when I was reading all those American guitar magazines back in the 1980s. If you start on this note, it's the Ionian mode, and if you start on that note, it's the Mixolydian mode, and if you start on this note, it's the Dorian mode. It's not about that at all. It's because then that makes you think, well, do I have to start that lick on this note? What if I don't start on that note? Does that invalidate what I'm doing? And again, it really confusing. Modes are all about there are a bunch of chords in a key. Okay, so let's say we're in the key of C. You've got C, F, and G, and then there's 3 minors as well: A minor, D minor, E minor. Right. So there's your chords in the key, and it's about which one of those chords is the one which is centre stage, which one is in the limelight, which one is the tonality, as we call it, to use a technical term there. For instance, a specific example, and I'll move on. Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd, right? The chords in that song are D minor, G major, F major, and C major. Now, those chords all come from the key of C major. Okay? There's no other key which has all those chords in it, but yet D minor is the chord that everything seems to kind of gravitate towards. So what we've done is we've taken the key of C major and we've focused on the D minor chord. And when you do that, when you kind of move the focus from like the tonic chord, the 1 chord in a key, to one of the other chords in the key, that is when you're playing in a mode. That's all it is. And it's got nothing at all to do with which note you start playing the scale on. So there. Next.
The melodic minor confusion.
Yeah, the melodic minor scale. This is a bit of a geeky one, I will admit, but I have had a few queries about this from students. Basically, it's taught that it has one set of notes when you go up the scale and a different set of notes when you come down the scale. If we were to do the scale of A melodic minor, for example, you will read in textbook after textbook that the A melodic minor scale, when it ascends, goes A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And when it comes down, it goes A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So it goes basically essentially the F sharp and the G sharp in the ascending version get kind of lowered a semitone to become G's and F's in the descending version. That is just such a crock of, well, I won't tell you, but it's wrong basically. The melodic minor scale, in the way that it's used a lot in jazz because there are some modes of the melodic minor scale that are very useful for certain situations in jazz. But the melodic minor scale is, in practical terms, it is the ascending version of it. So that would be A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then back to A again. I just don't understand this. I've never found a satisfactory explanation for why some people, some textbooks, some university music theory courses will teach this kind of 2 sets of notes depending whether you're going up or down malarkey. Because let's say, how do you write a piece of music? Well, you start with some chords and then you build a melody on top of those chords. Well, what happens if which notes do you use to build the chords with then? The notes from the ascending version of the scale or the notes from the descending version of the scale? And what happens if you're going up the scale and using the ascending version and your chords are built from the notes in the descending version, or vice versa? It's completely impractical and unworkable and is never used. I challenge anybody now to find me a piece of music that is written or uses the melodic minor scale where it does this kind of one set of notes on the way up and another set of notes on the way down. I've hunted high and low for that for the past 30 years, a piece of music that does that, and I have yet to find one. So there you go. Anybody tells you the melodic minor scale is 2 sets of notes, different on the way up to the different on the way down, yeah, it's a myth, and I hope I've just busted it. Next.
But it'll rob me of all of my feel.
No, it won't. That is one of the things that comes up all of the time. Yeah, if you understand what you're doing, it will rob you of, feel. It will rob you of your creativity and your artistic validity. Music, and I would say specifically guitar playing, is probably the only branch of the arts where you'll come up against this notion that, an understanding of what you're doing somehow robs you of the ability to do it with any kind of emotional connection. If a poet knows how to spell, does that mean that they can't write good poetry? Or the same for a novelist or whatever? A few years ago, here's another example that's kind of related to the art I should say. A few years ago, I decided I wanted a hobby that wasn't music related. This is in the days when I had time to have a hobby. Yeah, long gone are those days. And I don't know, I just plucked out of thin air. I thought, I'm going to do some watercolour painting. And I sort of got okay at it, but it was just, it's an expensive hobby, let me tell you that. The paint is not cheap, and then you got brushes, and there's all sorts of stuff. But anyway, well, one of the things that you learn is how to mix colours. It's like, I know, as I suppose many people do, that if you take blue and yellow and mix them together, you get green. okay, and then you can mix in other kind of colours to get different shades of green and so on. So that's all kind of theory, and theory there relating to that branch of the arts. Can you imagine a painter saying, well, I don't want to know what colours to mix, I don't want it, it'll rob me of my artistic feel. What a load of rubbish, frankly. The more you understand what you're doing, the greater the vocabulary you will have as a way of expressing what's going on in here and in here, as a way of kind of, you know, conveying your emotions. You will know exactly what tools to use and what notes and how those notes interact with the chords and what harmonies and what intervals and all that sort of stuff you know, are required to express the emotional content that you're trying to convey. Saying that music theory robs you of feel is probably the biggest music theory myth. Next.
I don't know any theory.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do know theory. You just don't call it that. If you know, for instance, that which fret to play a particular lick at to fit over a particular backing track, you know, if you know which fret to play a pentatonic box pattern at to do the same sort of thing, if you know that, you know, when you go from a C chord to an F chord to a G chord, that those three chords tend to occur a lot in songs together, and there is therefore some relationship to each other, and maybe you even know that that relationship is the same as the relationship between an A chord, a D chord and an E chord, or a G, a C and a D, or something like that. All of these things that you understand about where to put your fingers on the guitar and what's going to work, that is theory. You may not know the textbook names to attach to it. I didn't for many years. I didn't know, you know, things like I was playing modes, for instance, long before I understood modes. And the irony of that was I was reading guitar magazines and getting confused by all of this modal talk, not realising I was actually using modes in my own playing. So don't confuse not knowing the kind of labels that attach to stuff, the textbook names, with not having an understanding of what you're doing. If you understand what you're doing, even if it's in, you know, in a language of your own making, or a way of cataloguing it of your own making, if it works and helps you to coordinate what you're doing and catalogue what you're doing and understand where to put your fingers on the neck of the guitar, all of that knowledge is basically theory, and you know it. So there you go, folks. Those are what I think are the 5 biggest music theory myths that I thought I would take this opportunity to bust today. Let me know if you have any that you think I've missed, or if there's any on the list that you disagree with. I'm genuinely interested to know what your thoughts are on this. Of course, this video, because it's got the word theory in it, will get about half the usual number of views, but I just felt I had to do this one today. And that is the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it and found it reasonably entertaining and perhaps a little bit informative, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. As always, don't forget the live stream every Friday 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk music and guitars. What's not to like about that? Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.